Have you ever felt like you're doing everything right in your business, but you're still stuck in the same exhausting loop? Too many hours, too many hats, and not enough progress? You're not alone. A lot of builders hit that wall thinking that working harder will fix everything. But what if the real solution isn't doing more, but it's actually letting go? You're listening to the Construction Leading Edge podcast, where it's all about systematizing your construction business to eliminate chaos and maximize freedom, profit, and impact. My name is Todd DeWalt. I'm your construction business coach. My team has helped over 400 clients systematize their construction business. That's what we do. And today on the show, we're diving into an important question. What happens when a builder stops trying to do it all and starts building systems and a team instead? To help us answer that, we're joined by Daniel Queen, founder of Built by Coalition, a custom home building company in Charlotte, North Carolina. He started his business during COVID, and he recently overhauled how it runs from the ground up. In this episode, you're going to walk away with 3 key things. The big mindset shift that Daniel made to stop being the bottleneck in his business, how systematizing roles and responsibilities gave him peace of mind and better client outcomes, and why involving his team in creating systems was the real unlock for implementation and accountability. And there's something surprisingly simple that he shares, a Thursday meeting ritual that just might change how you lead your own team. So if you're ready to stop being the overworked hero in your business and start becoming the strategic leader your team needs, be sure to listen to this entire episode of the Construction Leading Edge podcast. And before we jump into that interview with Daniel, let me ask you a quick question. Are you carrying project risk too long? Hoping subs show up, hoping materials arrive on time, and hoping prices don't go up? Don't carry that risk any longer than you need to. My free buyout playbook shows you how to take control of costs and eliminate chaos up front. Go get your hands on that buyout playbook and learn how to buy out a construction project. Reduce your risk, lock in your profits up front. You can get that today at constructionleadingedge.com/buyout, BUYOUT. Now, let's jump into my conversation with Daniel Queen. Enjoy. Daniel, welcome to the podcast. How's it going, man?
It's going good. Glad to be here.
Let's jump into it. We're going to talk about what led you here today, some of the changes you've made in your business. You've worked with my team for a while now. Let's start with, tell us the name of your company, where you're located, and a little bit about the type of work you do.
Built by Coalition is the name of my company. We do custom homes, typically large custom homes. We're in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we build homes all around Charlotte, Matthews, Weddington, the lakes, all the surrounding area. We got kicked off about 5 years ago.
So 5 years ago, was this before or after COVID?
This was during COVID.
During COVID?
That's right. We started during COVID. That's actually part of the reason our name became Coalition. We felt like COVID was some pretty difficult times politically, and I'm not a big political person, but Coalition is multiple parties coming together to do a good thing. It just felt very fitting. My brother-in-law is a professional marketer, and he had helped us with that name. He branded that name, and we thought it was very fitting for what we're all about as a home builder. It's multiple parties coming together to do a good thing.
What were you doing before you started your business?
I was working for another home builder as a custom builder. I was with them for about 12 years. And before that, I was with another builder for around 5 years. So I was only with those 2 companies before I started off on my own. But this has been, my entire profession has been building custom homes. And I actually started out renovating homes in high school and went to college and got my degree in construction management at Appalachian State. I just set off to be a builder.
So let's talk about that period where you decided you're going to start your own business. There are some questions people have, like, how do you make that transition from employee? Hundreds of questions about that. But my question for you would be, if you could go back and talk to Daniel, the employee, before he started the business, and give him one piece of advice, what piece of advice would you give, like 2019 Daniel?
The most valuable information that I would have given myself is that building a business and building a custom home are two very different things. And be prepared to build a business, not just a custom home. I knew that I was going to have to build a business, but so many people are good at their profession and they feel like they could just go and do it on their own because they're good at it, but they don't realize there's a whole business side to it. I was aware that there was, and I was up to the challenge. I just didn't know what the challenge was going to look like.
Looking back on it, what were some of the big things that you didn't know when you made that jump?
One of the biggest things I did not know, being the achiever that I tend to try and be, is that I couldn't do this all on my own. There's too much to do. You can't be a construction manager, a project manager, a pre-construction manager, and sell and estimate and market. And so many people think that they can. I always thought that I could. I'm proficient on Filter Trend. I use it for everything that I do. And I thought that would just be my right-hand man. I could make all this happen. Like maybe I'd have to hire somebody to help me with the books. But I didn't realize I was going to have to build this whole team in order to serve the clients the way I set out and intended to build their homes. This isn't a one-man show. The load is just too heavy. I think that was one of the first surprising things for me.
What were some of the symptoms that you dealt with because the load was too heavy? What did that look like?
Just the sheer workload of waking up early, getting home late. And we knew that was coming. We knew that there was going to be a couple years there that would just be working very hard. But I've been in this industry my entire life. This is what you do. You work very hard in this industry. I didn't think I was going to be working any harder or any less than I already was. The burden of the responsibility of owning a business, it played out a little bit differently than I thought. Being responsible for making sure that construction was happening the way that I want it to happen, but also having to find that next client and write specs and pair them with an architect and get them through pre-construction. And then, by the way, you got to find the next client too. So it's just never ending. And it was hard to view it that way until I actually got my feet wet.
So you've been working with our team here at Construction Leading Edge. About 8 or 9 months ago, you joined our Systematize Your Construction Business program. So first of all, how'd you find out about us? What led you to the point where you and I had a call about a year ago?
Well, it's a good story. I have been listening to Leading Construction Ed podcast for years before I called you the first time, before I started the business. I started listening to it probably 2 or 3 years before that when I was with another custom builder. I go on runs after work or sometimes before work, and I always listen to podcasts while I'm running, and yours was the one I was always listening to. Every new episode that you'd have come out, I'd listen to it. I'm like, yeah, we need to apply this, and this is good stuff. And when I started the business, I thought, you know what? This guy's offering coaching services and I need a ton of advice right now. So I'm going to give Todd a call. And then I called you and I said, you know what? I don't know. I'm just starting a business. I think I know what I'm doing right now. I don't know that I can afford this right now. And I remember you saying to me, I don't think you could afford not to do this right now. You're just starting a business. And I thought, well, yeah, I'll show you. I definitely, appreciate all your content on your podcast and everything. But in the moment when you're trying to start a business, you're concerned about cash flow and you're concerned about, paying all the bills and looking for jobs. And I was like, and now I'm going to be coached. I don't think I need this yet. I'm going to get down the road a little ways and then I'm going to do it. So about 3 or 4 years later, I guess about 3 years later, 3.5 years or 3 years, 4 years, I called you and said, hey, I'd like to have this chat again. I actually thought you weren't going to answer. I thought you were going to say, yeah, we've talked before and I think you got it on your own, buddy. But you took the call and we had a quick Zoom meeting. And I think I remember saying that I just didn't know what I didn't know. I just assumed that I could spin that hamster wheel hard enough by myself. And that's impossible. You need good counsel around you. It's how, when I started the business, there are so many people surrounding me specifically. I'm born and raised here. Just friends and family surrounding me. And I loved all of their support. Everybody says to you, hey man, I'm so proud of you. You're starting a business. Let me know how I can help. And the reality is nobody really wants to help you. They're just rooting for you. They love you. They mean good by it, but they have their whole life going on. They can't really help you. So I developed a few counselors in my life that were business owners. I developed quite a few of them that I could just go have coffee with and ask questions to. but none of them were dealing specifically what I was dealing with. And so I just continued to listen to your podcast. And then I realized, man, these guys are talking about the exact same issues that I'm dealing with every single day. I just need to do this. Like I said, I called you back up the second time. We realized it was a good fit, and I have not looked back.
So what were some of those specific issues you were dealing with the second time that we talked?
Like I mentioned before, it was just kind of carrying a heavy load by myself, trying to be the estimator, trying to be the one who writes the specifications, trying to put new clients through pre-construction, trying to qualify a client, all the while trying to meet a waterproofer on a job site about a really important tailpipe that can't get covered up. And so I was like flipping out of this mindset. I felt like every 5 minutes from builder to business owner to builder to business owner. It was hard to do anything. One of the biggest issues that I had was I needed to hire a support system around me. And I didn't really know how to do that. And I started thinking about who I was going to hire, how I was going to hire. And I actually did, before I reached out to you guys, I did hire a bookkeeper, and I had just hired my first construction manager. And both of them were excellent hires. They're still with they're both pros at what they do. They own their jobs fully, and they're an absolute pleasure to work with. And I realized when I did that, I didn't really know how to lead them. I didn't really know how to be the boss and give them rope to go be good at what they're good at. It was concerning to me that I didn't really know how to lead them. And I knew that you guys were dealing with this all the time. That was one of the things that I was hoping that I could get help with, and I absolutely have. I needed to provide clarity for myself on why I actually needed them and specifically what I needed them to do. And quite frankly, how to implement it, because that's also not easy.
Seems like there were some missing pieces there, like the lack of clarity on how to lead people systematically. You're flipping from business owner to builder back and forth. What parts of the business were being affected by those issues? What were the ripple effects?
Time, because time didn't stop for you. As I'm out trying to make sure that I'm micromanaging an employee that, quite frankly, doesn't really need to be micromanaged. Time is going on, and I'm not letting go of all of the pitfalls that I see that these guys could step in. I didn't really know how to let go and let them be good at what they're good at, because they really had no clarity in what their entire job was to begin with. I think that made it difficult for me to let go and let them go be good at what they were good at, because I was like, oh, you got to remember that when that foundation goes in, there's an elevator pit in there, and the elevator pit has to come at a certain level, and that also has to fall over to the sump pit. And I know that my construction manager knows how to do that, but I was concerned that he wasn't going to remember these little details that could make a major impact on the build eventually. I needed help systematizing that, and I didn't know how to systematize it. I didn't want to start walking down that path if someone had a better way of doing it.
How did the lack of these systems and the lack of clarity affect your time? Like, were you working a lot of hours? Were you spending a lot of time on low-level activities? Was it keeping you away from time with your family? How was it affecting your time?
With regard to the family life, work balance, I think that my family would probably say I've always done that pretty well. I've never had a job where it's a 9 to 5. I've always been fully dedicated to wherever I've worked, just like I am now. And so there was always give and take. I haven't missed games. I haven't missed anything important. I still, take my kids to lunch, and I'm home on the weekends. I think I've always done a good job of just prioritizing that. There's times in life that I don't. And my wife pretty quickly reminds me of that. They've been really good to allowing me to just be flexible just with the family life. But yeah, regarding work and how that was affecting work, I spend time cleaning up job sites, or I'll never forget when I hired Mark. He's my construction manager. I'd show up at a job site, and he'd say, "Hey, why are you here?" I didn't know any different. That's what I did. I was a project manager, construction manager my entire career, and I would just show up, and he was like, "Hey, why are you here?" "I don't need you here." And I thought, you know what? You're right. You don't need me here. And it was kind of funny because I wasn't working on the next contract. I was too concerned that he was going to miss something on the job site that I hadn't told him about. I guess it was affecting the way that I worked on other more important things. I was prioritizing things that were just not as important anymore for me to be doing. They're very important tasks to do, but less important for me now. I have a new deal I need to bring to contract, and I can't do that if I'm sweeping out a garage. That's one of the biggest effects it was having on me. The first time I talked to you, Todd, you said you're holding onto a monkey bar right now. And I said, okay. And you said that third run is where you need to go, but you won't let go of the first one. And what's holding you there? I didn't think I could get to the third run. It's that I thought I would fail if I let go of the first. But the problem is I was not letting that go, and I was still failing. As soon as I did let that go, everything changed. Not to say we don't fail. We have to work through things all the time, but I've certainly moved way past that first bar.
Hey, it's Todd here. We'll get back to the show in a second, but real quick, what if you're leaving profit on the table because there's a crucial phase of every construction project that you're already doing, but you're just doing it too late? If you're a custom home builder, a remodeler, or a commercial GC doing over $1 million a year, here's the hard truth. You could be carrying risk way too long, leaving your profits and your company exposed unnecessarily. Maybe you're scrambling to lock in subs and materials at the last minute, dealing with profit erosion because of unexpected cost increases and scope gaps. What if there's one step that your competitors are using to boost profits on their projects that you don't even know about? Well, that crucial phase is the buyout phase. A lot of small construction businesses don't have an effective buyout process or may not even know what it is. That's why I put together the How to Buy Out a Construction Project Playbook. It's a free step-by-step guide that shows you how to structure your buyout, how to lock in pricing, secure subs, and protect your profits before you even show up on site. There's a playbook you can download, a masterclass training video, and a buyout checklist you can just download, print, and start using on every project. Think about it. Would it be a bad idea to spend a few minutes to download a playbook that could add 3, 5, or 7 points to your bottom line net profit on every project? It's a simple adjustment that you can make in a short amount of time that has a huge impact potentially. So go grab your copy now over at constructionleadingedge.com/buyout. That's constructionleadingedge.com/BUYOUT. Now, let's get back to the episode. So you joined our Systematize Your Construction Business program back in early 2025. Take us to the moment when you realized that the systems that you were implementing in your business and the changes you were making, they were actually working to solve some of those challenges.
I've talked to Manish about that quite a bit, that it's a subtle change. It happens subtly and you don't really know about it. You don't really account for it until you look back on what you've done and where you've came from. And it's like that weekly pulse we were talking about earlier, just how significant that's been to me, because it's helped me to recount everything that I've done that week and in the past weeks. As I've hired people on and as I've clarified their roles and as they've taken ownership of their roles, I've started to realize that as I'm estimating jobs, I'm still estimating jobs, but I'm only doing a third of it now, because part of my other team's top 5 most important things that they do is helping me estimate. I'm not writing the entire specification anymore because I have a director of design. She's also my pre-construction manager, but she writes 2/3 of the specs. I spent a lot of time estimating and writing specs. And now the information's already there. I just have to review it to make sure it's accurate. I realized the other day, we were writing the spec for the last 2 weeks for a new home. And my director of design was writing the specs. And once it was my turn to review them and fill in all of the structural things that are going in there, and I realized not only did she do her part, but she did a ton of my part, and she did everything better than me. I was all smiles when I opened that up, and it took me no time at all to get through my portion of it. And that's the same thing with the estimating right now. There's 3 of us that estimate. I just do the final look, and I'm just blown away at how much more detailed they are than I am. I didn't think that was going to be possible. It's those subtle changes. I didn't realize that was happening until I stopped and looked back and said, oh, wait a second, that's what I used to always do.
So you've done a lot of work over the past 8 or 9 months now. What would you say were the most impactful changes you made in your business? In other words, what are the top 2 or 3 systems or processes that have had the most positive impact for you?
That's easy. Clarifying everyone's role, developing through SYCB, and really just through the alliance that I'm in with you guys. We created clarity in everyone's role by giving them their top 5 most important things that they're supposed to do during the week. It's the top 5 most important things for their job. So once I clarified what those top 5 things were, and not only did I have clarity, but they had clarity, I was able to let go of anxiety that it wasn't going to be done right because I knew that they were doing it right. We have some accountability mixed into that. I've found that when you hire the right person, you don't need a whole lot of accountability. And everybody who works for me is pretty tenacious at their job and just doesn't take a whole lot of accountability. Takes training, but not as much accountability. As they've gained clarity themselves, and they've also added to their top 5 or changed it up, that's just been very helpful because it shows that they're taking ownership as well. That was one of the big changes in systemizing company, is making sure everybody was very clear on what their role was.
And how did that help you let go? You said that allowed you to let go of anxiety that things weren't going to be done right. How, like practically speaking, did that clarifying roles and responsibilities and having a top 5 for each person, how did that help you to let go?
So in this industry, when you're building a custom home, it's a super emotional project for the client. It's also emotional for the builder because you're building this home for a person. This isn't for a company or an organization. You're holding this client's dreams in your hands, right? And so we don't take that lightly. And I want to deliver everything to that client that I promised them that I was going to deliver, from the experience to the performing house. But in order to do that, I need everybody on the same page that we're going to do that. And in this industry, there's so many things to do to build a home and be successful. I don't care how good of a project manager you are or how long you've been building houses. It would be very arrogant to think that you could remember it all. You just can't. Everything that we build is a prototype. It's never been done before. We got to set up guardrails. One of the ways that has been easing my anxiety stems from not wanting to fail a client. I want their house to perform. I don't want it to underperform ever. I want to perform for them as a company while we are building their home. So I had to set up some sort of guardrails to have peace of mind that my construction manager, my project manager, my director of design, and our financial controller were all on the same page with serving this client the way we promised them. So we've set up a whole system around just that. And so this gives me peace of mind when I sit down with the company and I realize that they're actually doing all of these things and they're putting all of these things in place, and I'm able to trust and let go. Had I not clarified their role, if I'm not training them, then my anxiety just goes through the roof that I'm not serving my client very well, and then I'm going to fail them.
You've let go of a lot of things. You've put the guardrails in place to be able to let go of things strategically and prudently. What has that freed you up to do that you weren't able to do before?
I think I've always known that I've been decent at sales. The last company I was with, I'd helped out there quite a bit with meeting new clients, and I've always loved that portion of it. I like having a relationship with the client, and I enjoy the relationship part of the build. And I always want to be intimately involved in my client's build. And you can't have multiple jobs and be intimately involved with your client in the build. And I guess what I mean by that is, if I'm the one out there building all the time, then how can I massage that relationship with the client or with all of my other clients? If I'm the one always running the cash flow, well, then how can I possibly give them the attention that they deserve in all of these other areas? I've seen that one of the ways that it's freed me up is to focus on client relations, which is where I think my biggest strength is as a builder. So being in front of the client, being with the client. The last company I was with, as the project manager, I was also the construction manager. And I dealt with the client from the day that we finished the plans and signed the contract to the day we handed them the keys. So I was the face of the company at that point for any client that I had. And I always found it really hard to be the builder and the project manager, because those are two very different jobs. Builder is a day-to-day guy, and a project manager is making sure that the job is It's making sure that you're taking care of all the selections. It's making sure that you're getting all the permitting done. We didn't have a selections manager, so that was actually probably the biggest role as a project manager: selections management, managing the schedule, and managing the client relationship. You just can't wear all of those hats and serve the client. I'm not the builder that's going to meet the client in the sales room and then walk away from the job and let the project manager do it. No, I want to be on site, but I don't want to run the meeting. So I now go and I'll sit in on the meetings with my project manager. Sometimes you got to be the heavy, sometimes you're the good guy, and sometimes you're the bad guy. But either way, you're there with the client and they see that you're intimately involved with their project. And then, when you're building a custom home for a client and they're paying you millions of dollars, they want to know that you're involved. That's what it's allowed me to do. That's also freed up a little anxiety for me, because I'm always concerned that they're going to think that me being in the office or me selling to other clients, that I'm not actively involved in their job. But I've now built this whole team so that I actually can be active in their job.
Pre-construction a little bit. One of the things we work on in the SYCB program is focusing on pre-construction. What sort of results have you seen from a focus on pre-construction, dialing in that pre-construction process? What kind of results have you seen from that, if any?
We've just started the system that we created with pre-construction. We always had a pre-construction program, but it was really me running it. So now I have a director of design who's actually, their job is focused in pre-construction. I can tell you our specifications are way more detailed. They've never been this detailed. In the 20 years of building homes, I've never had specifications this detailed. And we tell our clients, we can make changes when we start building, but we would like to know exactly what your house costs up front. And we'd like you to pick out everything that we possibly can before this thing goes 3D. It's given our clients a lot of clarity on what they're paying for. We do fixed cost plus allowances. That's what our contracts typically look like. Not really interested in cost plus, but with the fixed cost plus allowances, we have those clients now set those allowances for us. In every category, like appliances or something more complicated like cabinets, we have checklists that we're going through, and we're making sure that we're asking all of these important questions, all the way down to, do you want accessories in these? Silverware, utensil separators. Because at the end of the job, when the cabinet guy says, hey, would you like to get some of these different accessories, kind of throw the client for a loop that they got to pay another $2,000 or $3,000 just for some accessories. Or why wasn't that included in the allowance? So we're talking about those kinds of details up front now and saying, hey, would you like us to set aside another allowance, a separate allowance for that, so that we don't spend it all on your cabinets and you guys always know that it's there. And we're doing that with every single category. We're asking them, do you want wallpaper? Where would you want it? Let's jump all the way into the details of your trim and your trim assemblies and your wainscoting. Let's jump all the way in the details. Let's go pick it all out. And then let's write all that into your specs so that when it's time to install it and we review this one last time before we install, you're very clear as to what we said we would do. So in the specifications.
Some people are probably listening to this thinking, man, that's a crazy amount of work up front. Why don't we just get things started? We could figure out some of this stuff as we go, like little details here and there. What would you say to those folks who are in the camp of, let's figure out some of this stuff you're talking about can be figured out as we go? What would you say to them?
I don't know why you want to build slowly. I would like to do it quickly and efficiently. And any job that I've ever built where I was building the plane as I was taking off went slower. You can't possibly do that. I've worked with multiple designers that have said, oh, I can't give you all that information now. And when they say that to you, it's hard to ask them why. But when you do, they don't really have great excuses as to why. It's really just because they don't have time to do it. But if you start asking that question, why can't you do it? And they'll say, oh, well, because I can't pick out countertops if I don't know what color the cabinets are going to be or what color the walls are going to be. If you don't have time to pick this out now, I don't know how you think you have time to pick this out later. And because when we're building the house, everything's moving a lot faster and it's harder to keep up. I don't have to know the exact countertop that you're going to install 8 months before. I don't have to know that. But I would like for you to have chosen something that will suffice for your allowance. There's like 2 or 3 things that you really, realistically, to a designer's defense, there's like 2 things, maybe 3 things that they cannot pick out, and that'd be countertops and tile, because it might not be there unless you put a deposit down right now. So I actually have a client that just recently put a deposit down on their countertop because they said that's absolutely the one that we want. So we're already locked in on that. But the tile is likely not going to be there when it's time to install it. But if they will go pick out their tile, and if we can get all the design work done, we will at least have a budget that they can use, and they'll know exactly what they were going to do. And it's not going to be surprising to them if they're over or under budget at that point. Builders who think that they're going to build this plane as they take off are going to do it slower. And there's going to be a massive amount of confusion as to why the budget was set where it was set. You have got to slow down if you want to speed up in the construction process, if you want to be efficient, if you want clarity, if you want a happy client. There's just no other way to do it.
If you go slow on the front end during pre-construction, you'll finish faster. But the brain says, let's start fast and we'll finish fast. But if you start fast and rush, you'll actually finish slower. But if you go slow on the front end, it'll be so much smoother and you'll finish faster. Let's talk about results. I'm curious, what would you say is the biggest positive result you've seen from the work you've done over the past 8 or 9 months systematizing your business?
I'd say peace of mind. I don't struggle with anxiety. I'm talking about work anxiety of hoping that I don't fail somebody. But I would say that the peace of mind has come with all this. I had sent you an email with some stuff for our live meetup the other day about freedom and discipline and, what that actually means. It's no secret that freedom's created through discipline. It feels sort of paradoxical because discipline, it's an everyday thing. This isn't systemize your business and then it's just going to work for you. No, you got to now work on your business. Things are going to change. Everything changes. You've got to train your team and constantly train it. You got to listen to them. You got to listen to what's going on in the field and what's happening and what's changing. And you got to move with those changes too. But training my employees training them in the systems that we have created has probably been the most effective tool to giving me peace of mind and freedom to lead as a builder.
So the key to those results is implementing, right? I wish we could just send out a stack of papers or a big PDF with information that would solve all of these problems. But the reality is information alone is useless unless you implement it. Implementation is tough. Getting things to change in a business is tough. What would you say are 1 or 2 of the keys that you've learned that actually make implementing changes in your business effective? What are a couple of tips or keys to implementing changes in your business?
You guys made that really simple for us. Have your team create the process with you. That's number 1, by far, what's been the absolute best, is having the team implement to build the system with you and implement it. Through SYCB, you guys put us through the program of systemizing your business, and I brought my whole team in to the office and we talked about multiple issues. And I didn't just stop with pre-construction. You guys had to just do that with pre-construction. I didn't just stop with pre-construction. We actually did that for construction too. It was just so helpful. To be honest, I didn't really think it was going to be that helpful, but the feedback that I got from the room was overwhelming. And then it was great because I was able to turn that back around on the whole team and say, okay, you guys said we need it. How do we put this together? What are we going to do? My goal was to get it all on our computer software system Builder Trend and get it under to-dos. But I didn't want to lead them down that road because if they had a better idea, I wanted them to tell me that, hey, listen, we think we could implement this better this way. We did end up using Builder Trend to put everything, and a to-do is essentially a checklist of things to do. But having them build those checklists, it was probably the best thing that I've done yet, because now I'm asking them to implement what they told me was most important. And I agree with them. And they thought of ideas that I haven't never thought about.
We'll get back to the show in just a second. If you're a construction business owner, let me ask you this. Are you feeling trapped in your business? Maybe you can't take a real vacation without being on call 24/7. Or when you finally do step away, you know there's going to be a mess waiting for you to clean up when you get back. Or maybe the constant stress of putting out fires and carrying all the responsibility and making all the decisions is keeping you up at night. and you're worried about losing a good employee, or it's affecting your health, or worse, it's keeping you from being present with your family. What if instead you could finally step back from the day-to-day chaos, take back control of your time, and build a business that runs profitably and smoothly even when you're not there? If that sounds good, I'd like to invite you to book a free business evaluation call with my team. In just one call, we'll help you get crystal clear on 3 things: the root cause of the biggest problems in your business, the goals and vision you want to achieve for your company and your life, and we'll map out a personalized roadmap you can follow to make that vision a reality. Look, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners systematize their business so they can work less, earn more, and actually enjoy their lives. And we can help you too. But the first step, it's up to you. Head over to constructionleadingedge.com/apply to book your free call, or just click the link in the show notes. Don't wait until it's too late. Take the first step toward freedom today. All right, let's get back to the show. I had a conversation with a business owner who just joined SYCB, and he asked me, so are you going to help us, teach us how to implement this stuff and how to get our team to implement it? And I said, well, a better question is, how do you get your team to want to implement it on their own? And that's I think most people, myself included, for the first 15 years of my career, I thought if I have a process, then I have to cram it down the throats of my people. I have to use words like enforcement, accountability, discipline if you don't follow it. And that just doesn't work very well. But what does work well is when you let the team develop the process, and then it's their plan and their process to implement. Then implementation becomes simple because they said this is what they want to do, and you're just coaching them on how to do it. So it almost sounds too good to be true for some people, but what we've heard from clients time after time is, gosh, when we can just get out of the way and let our team do it and we guide them through this process, they just take it and run with it. That is really, really good advice.
It's kind of funny, Todd, because we've been in meetings where, one of the checklist systems that we do now is all of our checklists are tied to the calendar. On Thursdays when we're doing our production meetings, we're looking at everyone's calendar on every specific job. And as we're in that meeting, you can see all their to-dos. So you just simply ask, you're on your foundation, have you checked off that to-do yet? And even if they hadn't checked it off, even if they're late on it, just them going to the checklist and looking at it, even right there in that meeting, gives me peace of mind that, okay, they probably just caught a couple things that they need to go implement. And they know that we're going to be asking that same question next week. Have you checked off the checklist? And we've laughed about it multiple times because I'm like, well, that's your checklist, not mine.
Let's talk about the CEO Alliance a little bit. You've been in that group for 5 or 6 months now. How would you describe the CEO Alliance in your own words? And then what has being in that group done for you?
So the CEO Alliance meets every other week, and we have different topics that we're always talking about. But our group actually meets every week. And we have off weeks that the guys in the group, we just decided that we were going to meet every week and continue on the conversation that we had the week before, or sometimes just help each other out with different issues that are going on. Everybody in that group, in my group, is a home builder. Some of them are renovators, but most of them are home builders. We're all going through the same thing. We're all using different platforms to run our business on, but really you find out real quick that you're not alone in the struggles that you're having. And you have 7 or 8 other guys or other business owners in this alliance with you that somebody has gone through what you've gone through, and they've come out the other side, or they're going through it at the same time you are. And other guys are giving you advice on how to handle it and how to solve the situation. I thought I was on my own, and I just didn't realize that everybody else dealt with all of the same struggles that I do on a day-to-day basis. It kind of helped me to realize, wait a second, I'm not crazy. Everybody's dealing with the same things I am. And just the advice you get from there. Every single week, I come out with a ton of notes and just little nuggets that I want to implement, and call the guys up afterwards and ask them, hey, you said this in the meeting. How do you do that? How do you implement that? And how's that going for you? I found that to be super helpful.
What would you say is the number one thing that the CEO Alliance has done for you, if you had to boil it down to one sentence?
My coach is Manish, and he has a very unemotional lens looking into my business. He's coached so many people that before I can even finish my sentence, he knows how to solve it. He helps me to view it through a different lens and step away from it. And that's probably helped more than anything.
Yeah, being able to detach from it, look at things from a different perspective. Yeah, that's good. What's one piece of advice you wish somebody had given you 10 or 20 years ago?
It's not advice that I didn't hear 20 years ago. It's advice that I haven't followed until now. Proverbs 3:13 says, "Blessed is the one who finds wisdom and the one who gets understanding. For the gain from her is better than gain from silver, and her profit better than gold." I'm not saying that having wisdom and having understanding is going to make you rich financially. In this industry, there are so many situations that you put yourself in every single day that the one who gains the most understanding and the one who gains the most understanding about the issue that's going on is typically the one who wins. There's so many hotheads. There's so many people we have people out there working very hard with their hands. It's hard for them to emotionally detach from a job and think through a situation, whether it's a cash flow problem that they're having or whether something has happened on the job site and created a tough situation for them. It's hard for them to think through a problem. So one of the things that I try to practice is taking a deep breath. My old boss used to say this to me all the time. Before you step into a situation, take a deep breath because there's something about the oxygen getting to your brain. And then gain understanding of what's actually going on. What's happening here? What's happening with that trade right now? Is something going on in his life? Is it just a hot day? Has he had 5 other problems today? Because typically, no matter it's a vendor, a trade, an architect, an engineer, when you get into a situation, you're always going to have a situation. When you get into a situation, if you can gain understanding of and see it through the lens of everybody in the situation, you're going to have a much better understanding of what's going on and how to handle the situation. So this can be applied to almost every minute of my day. And I wish I would remember it all the time. So this isn't a piece of advice that I've never been given. It's a piece of advice that I rarely take.
That's really good advice. Yeah. One of the things in managing projects and teams is that so many times I would step into a situation and I knew that I knew what was going on. Now my posture is, okay, what am I missing here? There is at least one thing that I'm missing. So I always go into it with, what am I missing here? There's some piece of information, some perspective, something that I'm not aware of. I really like that. Gain understanding, gain wisdom about what's going on. Yeah, and that applies to marriage, children, money, business. Yeah, applies to everything.
It's a biblical truth that's not saying, hey, you're going to get rich if you do this. I think it's saying you're going to have a richer life if you do this.
If you were talking to somebody, Daniel, and they said, hey, man, I've been listening to the podcast. I'm thinking about joining the Systematize Your Construction Business program, but I'm not sure what I should do. What advice would you give them?
I would say that I hope that you have some other kind of counsel in your life. If you're not going to have some sort of a coach in your life or some sort of alliance group in your life, specifically around your business, when you're sitting in an alliance meeting or when you're just on a one-on-one coaching call, it's very hard to quantify why it's so effective until you start applying what you've learned. It's one of those things where you don't really know how far you've gone until you've looked back over all the progress that you've made through it. I can't tell you how often I'm steered out of the weeds with my alliance group, or just with Madish, my coach. I'm just steered out of the weeds, or hey, you need to focus on this. Stop focusing on this. Start focusing on this. And when you do those things, the ball moves forward. When you systemize your company, the ball moves forward. You think that you don't have enough time to do that. You actually don't have enough time not to do that at this point. And that's what I learned. But I didn't know that until I was looking back on it and saying, oh, man, I'm glad I gave up all those other things to move this ball forward.
What is one thing you believe to be true about business that some people might think is unconventional, maybe even a little crazy?
I think there's a lot of companies that probably feel the same way I do about this. We talked about the name of my company is Built by Coalition. And again, a coalition is the coming together of multiple parties to do a good thing. Our company ethos is to build like your community depends on it. But what is your community? So something I think that is a bit unconventional about us is we're specifically concerned with our community. But what is our community? Well, first of all, your community is your family. That's first and foremost. If you're coming to work at Coalition, need to understand that part of the coalition is your family. That's why you're here. Everybody says, we got to separate business and family. Sure, to a degree, but this is what you do all day long. And your family is incredibly important. You would not be here if it wasn't for your family. So the first thing I want to make sure that all the people who work for me, everybody on my team, is taking care of their families. The second thing is I want to take care of each other. Are we taking care of each other? When we talk about this at our company meetings. Is there someone who needs something going on in your life? We do things in the community and we do a lot of giving back, but I don't want to step over team members to give back to the community if there's need right here in that first ring of the coalition. Does that make sense? And then the second thing is, how are we serving our clients and how are we serving our vendors? I don't want to step over these vendors who you don't have to go far in this industry to figure out if there's a need. I could go to a job site right now and find the need. So I don't want to step over these people who are serving my clients, who are serving us day in and day out, that have needs in their lives. How are we coming beside them in a tangible way and supporting them the way they're supporting us? Because they don't ask for help. And it's actually pretty difficult to peel it out of them what they might need. We've made that level of importance. We've said, build like your community depends on it. Well, let's define our community. It's your family. It's us right here at Coalition. It's our clients. It's our vendors.
Really good. I love that. Build like your community depends on it. So speaking of your community, Daniel, what is your hometown? And if somebody happens to visit there, what is the one place they need to visit?
I have listened to your podcast for so long that I have thought about this question forever.
This could be the most important thing we talk about.
I'm from Charlotte, but I live in Matthews. It's just a little suburb of Charlotte. My office, actually the window I'm looking out of right now, I can see a little brewery across the street called Seaboards. And Seaboards has a hole in the wall pizza place right beside it called Pizza Depot. They have great beer. They have great pizza. It's my favorite place to go. We're there at least once a week. And that's a super safe town. Our kids go run around. We have date night. Our friends are always up there. It's just such a relaxed place to go and have some pizza and a beer. I would say if you were coming to Charlotte, you'd have to come over here and go to Seaboards.
Seaboards and Pizza Depot. Got it. All right. Good stuff, man. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to be on here. If folks want to connect with you or follow you, where are some of the best places or the best place for them to go to do that?
Our Instagram handle is Built by Coalition and the website's builtbycoalition.com. We're on Facebook as well. So probably the best place to reach out.
Excellent. We'll put those links in the show notes. Daniel, congratulations on the success, man. Nice work. It's all about implementation. And you've done a great job implementing these things, getting them into your business, making them your own, iterating on them, working through the resistance and the procrastination and perfectionism and getting these things going. So nice work. And I'll see you at our event in Nashville in a couple of days, right?
Yes, sir. I'm really looking forward to it.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it, Daniel. Hey, it's Todd. Before you go, if you own a construction business and you know you need to put the right systems in place, whether it's to be able to scale up, to be able to take a proper vacation, step away from day-to-day operations, if you know you need to make it more profitable, or even prepare it for a future sale, if you know you need to make some changes in your business, there are really only three options. And I want to clarify this for you. Option one is do nothing. Keep doing the status quo. Same inputs, same results. Keep doing the same thing that you've been doing. Option two is to DIY it, to do it yourself. You can try to reinvent the wheel, piece together solutions from books and podcasts, hope that trial and error gets you where you want to go. In my experience, this is the path of most resistance. Or there's option three, which is to find a proven system that delivers the results you're looking for. Think about it. Sort of like when you sign up for software for project management or bookkeeping, you probably didn't try to code your own software, right? You found a system that works. So that's a proven system that gets you the results you're looking for. Well, if you're ready to systematize your construction business, we've helped hundreds of construction business owners implement our proven processes, including our nail the handoff pre-construction system. It works for home builders, remodelers, commercial general contractors, and trade contractors like electricians, plumbers, roofers. The first step is simple. Schedule a free business evaluation call with my team. Just click the link in the show notes to book your call. On that call, you'll walk away with clarity on the hidden root causes of your biggest challenges. You'll learn about the pitfalls that you want to avoid as you move forward with your business, and you'll walk away with a customized roadmap that you can follow to get where you want to go. This is not a sales pitch, okay? There's no pressure. We may not even talk about working together. You may not even hear about our program. This is all about evaluating your business. It's going to be the most valuable hour that you've spent working on your business in a long time. So don't wait. Click the link in the show notes to book your free business evaluation call now. And the last thing, if you've been enjoying this podcast and getting value out of it, I've got a quick favor to ask. Could you take a moment and leave a 5-star rating and maybe a short review on the platform that you're listening or watching on? It really helps the podcast grow. It lets other people know what to expect. Plus, I love to hear your feedback. It means a lot to me. Thanks so much. My name is Todd DeWalt from ConstructionLeadingEdge.com, and I'll catch you on the next episode.